Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is David King from davidbking.com. Today I want to talk about a concept that I kind of morphed from a quote actually from Bruce Lee. If you've heard the quote from Bruce Lee, be like water. Be like water, my friends, be like water. That's kind of how this whole topic and idea came about for today's video, where I'm talking about plants. Now, what's interesting, and I just want to kind of briefly discuss Bruce Lee's quote, be like water, and I think that can be interpreted in many different ways. Water, it's in many different forms, so water can be a gas, water can be, the water that we drink, water can be ice, and water can be, once again, a steam gas. So there's different forms of water. There's a gaseous form of water, there's a drinking form of water, and there's ice form of water. Water falls from the sky, and it also evaporates into the sky, so it's uplifting, downlifting. It flows in the river and lakes and streams. It's in huge, it's big blocks of ice in the North Pole and South Pole. It's in the form of snow, which is like crystals. I mean, there's so many different forms and different ways that kind of water kind of interact with our lives on a daily basis. And I thought it was kind of an interesting quote, be like water, my friends. Water is fluid. Water, it's very fluid. Water can basically do anything, as crazy as that sounds. Water is probably one of the most interesting things on this planet because of the amount, what it does, where it is, how it can change form. I mean, it's amazing if you really think about water, how amazing it is compared to everything else on the planet. But today I want to talk about plants. And not plants, I don't want to talk about plants. I want to talk about you and why you should look at plants in a different way and why you should look at your life like a plant. Okay? So I'm going to show you something real quick. Right here, I have what's called a bonsai tree. Now this bonsai tree grows in Thailand, in my home, and it's also known as a money tree. And in Thailand and in the East, it's kind of a good luck, fortune type of plant. It's spelled B-O-N-S-A-I, bonsai tree. It's a money tree. And I bought this tree online, and they shipped it to me. And it was just a small tree when I got it. It was, very, very small, and it was kind of actually squished when I got it in the mail because they sent it in like an envelope. I was like, really? So anyway, I grew it anyway. Here it is today. I mean, it's pretty big. And one thing that's interesting about plants, like if we're going to examine plants in nature and being like water, like Bruce Lee said, I think that's obviously something that's valuable because of what water can do, how it can change shape and form. It's very, very fluid, things like that. So I think we can also learn from plants. And now, I think nature as a whole we can learn from, because nature is something that is constantly evolving, changing, growing, changing form, changing shape. Really, it's something that's very dynamic. It's very evolutionary. It has to be. That's how it's survived. So when we look at one plant, I mean, what is nature? It's just composed of a lot of different plants. It's got its ecosystem. It's got the elements, the rain, the sunshine, the soil, that kind of thing, that help support the plants in that environment. But if we're just talking about nature, let's talk about one plant. Let's zoom in a little bit and examine one plant and how we can actually learn from plants and apply the life lessons to our life that plants live through on a daily basis. So, when you first look at a plant, what makes it grow? The elements, right? You have sunshine, water, be like water, my friend, Bruce Lee, and soil. So the sunshine is coming from, up here. The sunshine is coming from the sky. The soil is coming from beneath, under the plant where the roots are, and the water actually falls from the sky and then goes into the roots and then feeds the plant. And then you have just the environment, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, everything, all these chemical processes happening. But if you look at a plant, why does a plant grow in the ground? The plant grows in the ground because it has roots into the soil, into the earth, that get water to grow, as well as different minerals, bacteria, things like that, that basically feed the growth of the plant. So first things first, the plants and the trees are grounded. They're connected to earth. And when people say to people, oh, that person, they're so grounded, that person is really grounded. You know, they're really down to earth. What are they saying? Yeah, they're saying on a mental kind of psychological, you know, level, like, you know, they're down to earth, they're grounded, meaning they're not far-fetched. They're not way off in the sky. They're not, you know, like and I hate to use New Age people as an example because I love New Age people and I think there's a lot of good concepts within New Age beliefs, but they're not that crazy New Age person that's, you know, they can't have a conversation with you without saying, you know, love, light, peace, namaste, and vegan in like 3 sentences. They have to say one of those words. You know, so it's like, that's what down to earth and grounded is. It means that you can have a conversation with someone, you can relate to someone, and you can basically, you're real. You feel authentic. You feel like you're living in your own body. You feel like you're embracing your true self. So when you're grounded and when you're connected to the earth, it helps with that, and all plants and trees are grounded. And the other interesting thing about being grounded and connecting to earth, like roots do from a plant or a tree, is that when you're touching the earth with your bare feet or with your hands, you are actually grounded, or otherwise known as earthed or grounded, meaning that you are balancing processes within your body, your circadian rhythm, your blood pressure, your heart rate, things like that. There's a book called Earthing that describes that. So first lesson we can learn from plants, and there's more about that on my website, healthywellthanfree.com. But their first lesson we can learn from plants is that they are grounded. They have roots. They have a base. They have a core. They have something that their energy and their growth and their evolution stems from physically. Stems from the earth, from Mother Earth, from nature, from the soil. So I think when we understand that, and if you think about that and how we can apply that in our own lives, we understand that we have the same thing. We have something that our energy, our inspiration, our creativity, our guidance, our life all stems from something. And if we don't understand the source of that stem and our connection to that, we aren't going to be able to be as creative, inspired, and grow like we should. Because a tree or plant that's root system is cut off, or the water isn't fed to the roots, dies. Plants are either growing or dying. There's no in between. Trees are either growing or dying. Everything in nature is either growing or dying. There's no in between. So the same applies to you. You're either growing or you're dying. So your root system, your stem, your source, your connectedness to nature, to earth, is extremely important. You need to be grounded. You need to be earth, both mentally, physically. Obviously there's health benefits to that, but just mentally understand and be down to earth and relate to people, relate to your environment, and understand why you're here and your purpose. So there's that great source of grounding and earthing that we can have as individuals, and that nature already has and has to have in order to survive. So you have to have it in some degree in order to survive. But in order to thrive and grow like bamboo does in the rainforest, 3 to 4 feet a day, you want to have deeper roots that reach deeper, that pick up and grab more water to give your body, your mind, and your spirit more of what you need to grow higher, further out, and that kind of thing. So that's the first lesson we can learn from plants and trees. The second lesson is, what else do plants do? They grow, right? So they grow up. They have their source, they have their stem in the soil, but they're constantly growing up. They're constantly reaching, okay? They're literally reaching for the sun. Plants are reaching for the sun. So if you put, for example, this plant is in my windowsill. If this plant stays in the windowsill, you can actually see, why are the leaves angled this way? Do you see that? This. They're angled this way because the sun comes from this way. So they're literally reaching for the sun. Like my hand, if it was reaching for the sun, would be going this way. Not like, you know, that, because I'm not going to get as much sunlight. But if I put my hand out, the leaves are enlarging and like embracing the sun, if you will. So they're reaching upwards. In our lives, we need to reach upwards as well, because we understand that there is something greater than ourselves out there. Whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever you want to believe, there's more to life than us. And I think that's the very basis of all religion, of all anything, is that there's more to life than us. We're not the only thing here. We're not there's more. There's a lot more. There's a huge universe out there with cosmos and planets, and there's billions of people, there's billions of plants, there's billions of animals. I mean, there's all of that is more than us. And to understand that there's more to life than us, and to understand that we need to be connected to the life beyond ourselves is extremely important. Another lesson we can learn from plants and trees is that in nature, plants and trees actually gravitate towards each other. So that's why there are forests, that's why there are rainforests, that's why you will see certain plants in certain regions within that kind of ecosystem. Plants gravitate towards each other. Plants, it's like in the movie Avatar. Plants have a network. We need to have a network too. We need to gravitate towards each other. We need to have that sense of community like nature does with plants and with trees. So that's another lesson we can learn. The other lesson is plants are growing taller. They're reaching higher heights. Same with trees, and this is a tree plant, whatever. So your plants are always raising the bar, if you will. And I think what's interesting about trees is if you go outside and you look at really tall trees, and if you stand at the top of the tree, if you climb the tree to the very top, you have a great perception, you have a great view of the world around you. Whereas if you're standing on the ground, you don't have that view and perception. So growing upwards gives you the ability to have a bigger, broader perception of the world around you, and you get to see things from a different vantage point, from a different angle that you couldn't even see on the ground, but when you just simply elevate your eyeballs to a higher level, you get to see something completely different, even though it's the same area, it's the same place. So it's interesting how plants and trees grow higher. So in our lives, I think just understanding that we need to see the bigger picture. We need to be able to see broadly. We need to be able to see what's around us beyond ourselves. So that's kind of based off the last topic too. But so that's another thing we can learn from plants and trees, and another way to be like a plant. Another thing that's interesting is new plants, new leaves grow. Like for example, I don't know if you can see this right here, but there's a little stem growing right here with new leaves. And this one, these constantly are just budding out and growing. And what's interesting is if you look at a plant or a tree, or like this specifically, they're constantly growing like new leaves, new stems, they're constantly growing and evolving. I mean, it's amazing to just look at a plant and see how it's growing, changing, and evolving. I mean, it's literally fun because you're like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen there. Oh, this is, oh, that one's coming out. Oh, another one, and then new leaves grow, and then before you know it, it's this huge plant. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. And it's just cool to see something outside of yourself grow like that. And it's kind of like, for example, this little new stem right here, it's almost like it's a neural pathway. So understanding the mind and how engagement of our senses, of our vision, of our sound, our smelling, our hearing, things like that, are what create new neural pathways in our mind. It's like plants and trees, their stems and their leaves and things like that are like their neural pathways. It's like the mind of a plant, if you will, is growing. So it's expressing itself. And that's what's interesting too. If you look at different plants and trees and all these different things, they're all different. They're all unique. They're all expressing themselves in different ways, but they're all reaching for the same thing. They're all reaching for the sun, and they're all grounded. So I think in our lives, if we can stay grounded, and if we can stay connected to the source of our energy, but yet reach for what we all want to reach for, which is love, happiness, abundance, and a better world, I think we can live an amazing life just by mimicking a plant. It's not that hard. It's pretty simple. So be like water, be like plants, be like nature, learn from nature, spend time in nature. And I highly recommend getting a plant in your home and just watching it grow, especially if you have kids, just showing them how a plant grows and just helping them understand growth. Because when you see how a plant grows, if you're old, young, whatever age you are, you realize there's growth within everything. And I mean, to see a seed go into a plant, turn into a plant, turn into leaves, turn into new stems, I mean, that's how life is. So if you choose for it to be, if you choose to be like a plant. So if you choose to be like water, and you choose to be like a plant, a lot of great things happen. So just to recap the lessons, I think we can be like a plant by being grounded in earth and being connected to our stem source of energy, which is our spirit, and reaching for whatever is positive. In this case, for a plant, it would be the sun. That's its source of energy. as well as, you know, the earth and nurturing there through water and the sun, the different elements. So understanding our elements, understanding using our elements and these sources of energy as fuel for creative inspiration and expression in being a unique, beautiful being, or in this case, a plant, that turns the world into a much better place. So, a lot we can learn from plants in one short video. I just want to record this video because I thought it was amazing how many kind of similarities we have to plants. We just don't realize it because we don't think about it. If we think about things like this, we can understand the value of plants, we can understand the value of nature, and we can use those lessons in our own lives and use that to grow and personally develop ourselves to a level and a character and of much more stature, and just to feel and live better. So that's it for today. Say bye to the money tree. It's going to leave now. Thanks a lot for spending time on your busy day to watch this video. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you got something from this video, and hopefully you see plants a little bit differently now, you see your life a little bit differently, and you see nature as a whole a little bit differently, because there's a lot to learn there, and we might as well use it to our advantage and not ignore the beauty and life lessons within every living thing on this planet. Thanks a lot for your time. This is David King from davidbking.com. Check out my website and follow me on Facebook, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have a great day. Bye.